Music is a way that black people communicate, I think, with God. It has a great deal of something inside you that nobody else, you can't explain. It's just something that you feel, and you can express yourself, and it's like a universal language. And there are times when you can't do anything else but sing.
Inspirational gospel music. Yours truly, Herman Amos, with you this morning on WNJR Newark. I want you to stay tuned this morning for the 8 o'clock broadcast service live from New Hope Baptist Church with the Reverend C.E. Thomas and the radio choir under the direction of the Minister of Music, Miss Cissy Houston.
Something about her, it's like chemistry. You know, I don't know why it takes two H's with an O to make water instead of one H and an O. You know, I mean, that's just what the thing is. That's just what happens. With Cissy, she makes the people around her want to sing their best.
Cissy and myself, that's one of the reasons that we groove together so good, because we do come from the same place. Different churches, but the same place.
Cissy was part of my family. I mean, although she was my aunt, I considered her more of a sister than an aunt. Being that she lived with us, she grew up out of our home. She went to school out of our home, and she was married out of our house, as a matter of fact. So she was always, I considered her my older sister.
I had a mother, I had the teacher, I had it all in one, which was great. But I think that if I'd had a mother who was my mother and not an entertainer, I don't think that I would be what I am today. I don't. I think I'm from her. And the reason why I'm a singer is because of her, you know.
Don't go right, whatever. Go back, go back to the top. We should just look around and see all that he's done. Not just for me.
I sing out everything. I sing out my frustrations or my hurt or whatever.
Maybe morning, night, I know that's right.
And blacks have used music in that way for hundreds of years. In the fields where they worked, that was their way of communication. They would sing to each other and everybody knew what they were talking about.
We need a blessing, don't we? Come on, send it down, Lord. Stand up like y'all got some life. Y'all act like you're dead.
God didn't give you talents to keep to yourself. He gave them to you to share. And that's exactly what I try to do. I try to train people to sing out their feelings in their own way.
Of no shoes, while the man has no feet. That's a statement, a profound, right? Okay, come on, try it again. There are times. Okay. All right. All right, come on, no playing around now. There are times we complain.
Though we cannot explain why the things in our lives
Don't go.
I've sung pop music for 25 years, and it's taken me all over the world. But I always come back home to work with my choirs. And it's kept me in tune with myself, it kept me in tune with my God and my people that were here, down to earth people that I went to church with. I started singing when I was 5 years old with my older brothers and sisters. Newark was alive with gospel in those days. My mother died when I was very young, but between my father and my older sisters, they had us singing at churches, gospel programs, you name it. My maiden name was Drinkard, and we were called the Drinkard Singers. We were big things too, because we were children, and we were there wasn't many children's groups at that time. And of course they'd say so late and hold us to last. I was always asleep, so they always had to wake me up to get up and sing. We didn't have microphones and all that kind of stuff, so we used brooms and mops. But you rehearsed and you rehearsed. We had these navy blue pleated skirts. They were wonderful. And every time we rocked, my skirt tail would go like that. So that fascinated me. You know, I liked that. I had to look back at it. And of course, my sister would always say, "You don't turn around, stop looking at your tail." My sister Marie, she taught us. You talking about a tough master now, huh? She was a tough teacher. When I sing, I give everything that I have, everything. There's nothing. No, I don't hold back anything, because I feel you sing it as though it may be your last time. You don't know, but it's something. It's a feeling that I don't know. It makes me feel you just get caught up. You feel good. It's just a wonderful feeling. It's just indescribable. It really is.
It's light.
It's I'm telling you. Sometimes you might think it's funny. There's been many a times I've sang so hard I felt like I could just fly.
I am climbing Jacob's ladder. I am climbing. I'm going on up Jacob's ladder. I am climbing Jacob's ladder.
We had an upright piano, and Nikki would play, and everybody would stand in the middle of the living room, and they would sing. And when it got to be a July afternoon or a July evening, when it was 90 degrees outside, which it happened frequently enough, the screens were opened, and you would find literally an audience in the middle of the street, or sitting on the curb, or even sitting on our stoop, listening to them rehearse. It was fabulous, it really was. It was a concert without paying.
Hey, I'm a soldier, soldiers up. I'm a soldier, soldiers up. I know I'm a soldier, soldiers up. I'm a soldier, yes, I'm a soldier, soldiers up. I know I'm a soldier of the cross, soldier of the cross.
For many years, as you know, gospel music and its counterpart, spirituals, were sort of limited to just a few of the Negro people throughout the country. And here is a tremendously vital kind of music that everybody...
We were invited to the Newport Jazz Festival with Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward. And it was a part of history because it was the first time that gospel had been presented at a Newport Jazz Festival, which is a phenomenon. And it was so huge. It was so many people. I had never seen that many people in my life. And for as far as the eye could see people, and it was great.
As we were going up, we were quite nervous because we had never faced anything quite to this magnitude. And another thing, we knew that the jazz festival was mainly to white audiences. So that sort of unnerved us a little bit.
I've brought a choir known as the Drink Card Singers this afternoon. I think you'll love them. Let's listen, huh?
As they were singing and the spirit was moving through them, the audience picked up the spirit and rose out of their seats and came swarming down to the front of the stage, and they were reaching out for our hands.
Yeah, I say he raised me, that's enough. Saved me, that's enough. And he brought me, that's enough. My God taught me, that's enough. My shepherd, that's enough. He's my guide, that's enough. I can see him walking, that's enough. My side.
After Newport, we had bookings coming out of our ears. It was kind of difficult because we had to work. We had day jobs, and we had to keep day jobs in order to survive. Because in gospel, well, which has changed maybe a bit now. Well, I guess quite a lot has changed. You just couldn't make enough money at that time to support or survive, you know. So you had to have a day job. And you did it because you loved it, not because it supported you.
The secular music presented themselves with more money, was attractive that way. And those who wanted to sing for a living saw the chance. So they went over to secular music.
I wanted more money. That was the reason for me doing it. You know, and to educate my children and to live in a style that I had become accustomed to. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's the only way that I could do it. Because you sure couldn't do it in gospel. It didn't make me love gospel any less.
I have background for Dion, Aretha Franklin, Benny King, and several others. During that time, it was for the money, of course. But somehow it just didn't set with me. I was never comfortable with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Cissy Houston.
She used to tell me stories about when she was growing up that plagued her for a long time. Serving to gods, that kind of thing, and, you know, singing the devil's music and, you know, that crazy kind of stuff. But that sort of never really stops. I think, you know, it's because once you grow up in church, it's like church people never want to let you go. They always want to keep you to themselves, you know what I mean?
Sometimes I tell myself I'm leaving, and I would love to think that I could go, but I know it's just my pride I'm deceiving. 'Cause Oh, who could that be after you?
I've taken a lot of flack from church people for singing pop, but that's the name of the game and it comes with the territory. But my base is my church. That is me. And from that, and I think that is what church or religion is all about. I think Christianity, it's your stem, your base is that. And from that, there are many people who need help in different directions, you know. There are many things, there are many people you can reach. I reach a great deal of people, basically most of the time through a gospel in your church, you're reaching those people in that area. You know what I'm saying? When I go out into different clubs, different cities and different countries and whatnot, I can reach a multitude of people because I don't change my beliefs. I don't change who I am. I don't change what I am. I just give as I am. And I think that's the way you're supposed to do it. And I don't intend to change.
Do I love you? Well, you know I've tried. But what you're after, you can't find in my eyes. Oh, I really want to do right, y'all. I do. I really want to do right. I don't want to leave. I don't want to say goodbye. But sooner or later, there has got to come a time when you've got to do right, y'all. Oh, I want to do right. Darling, tell the truth. Don't turn away from me. This is our last chance to touch each other's hands. You said it could last forever. I don't know. Maybe we're near the end. Tell me how can we go on together? Now that we've grown apart, I know the only way to start is heart to heart. You so torn apart. I need a little more love in my heart. Say that love may grow. How was I to know that a love that's gone through years and years can't find its way back home anymore? Said it could last forever. I don't know. Oh, maybe we're near the end. Tell me how can we go on together? Now that we've grown apart, I know the only way to start is heart to heart. Don't you know it is? The only way to grow is heart to heart. Oh, darling, you told me it could last forever. I don't know. Maybe we're going to apart. Ooh, said it could last forever. I don't know. You said it could last forever. We've grown apart. And the only way that I know to go is heart to heart. 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 Heart to heart.
I remember once Cissy wasn't available, and she wasn't going to be available. I think she may have been on her way to Japan and not coming back for a month. My record company was hounding me. You gotta do the record. You gotta finish the record. We're not gonna meet the Grammy deadline. We're not gonna meet this. We're not gonna do that. And I waited. I said, no. What we have to record is my fantasy about how my music should be. And a main character in that fantasy is Cissy Houston. So we cannot do this. You can't do The Wizard of Oz without the Tin Man.
When I crossed over from gospel to pop music, I landed straight in the studio. I have done thousands of sessions, every kind of music you can name. The recording studio is really like a second home to me.
I started doing background work before Cissy did. John Huston, Cissy's husband, became our kind of manager. And he was the one that would get up in the morning and get on that bus with us or get us in the car and drive us into the studio. So Cissy played a very important part in that and allowing him to do that. Because we took him away for many, many long sessions at night.
And Dion had a previous engagement the night that they had a real big session for Ronnie and the Hawks, which is now called the band, who is a great big, artist. My husband was hung up for a top voice singer, so I was the only thing around that, and he didn't want me to go because my baby was 3 weeks old. And so I said, it'll be all right. He said, well, you sure? I said, sure, we're fine.
I wrapped up in blankets and put her in the car, and we went into New York. And we did the session. And when we first got there, Henry Glover didn't want to continue the session because Dion wasn't there. So I got him back in the control room, and I talked to him, and I told him to listen. Listen. And when Cissy started singing in the background, he changed his mind fast. And then he didn't want anybody else but Cissy back there. And that's how she started in the business.
They called me and asked me could I get together some voices for David Bowie. He had a song called Underground, which was really a gospel kind of song. We put together a little experiment. We took some professional voices like Shaka Khan, Luther Vandross, my son Gary, and myself. Then we mixed some singers from my church choir. It was kind of nice for me because the pop side and the gospel side of my life came together for a night.
She, in a session, is the one who comes up with the parts. And the producer has that blank look on his face. Oh, what should we do here? And then, of course, the singers have blank looks on their faces because they don't know what to do. She was always the one who said, well, let's try a little of this. She and I would always do that together really well. And bouncing off of each other, a great background part would come out of that exchange. It's the finesse and the accomplished way of singing and executing something that really is going to make the difference in what your record is and what your recording is. She's one of those proof of the pudding is in the eating type of singers. She doesn't rehearse loud at all. She doesn't rehearse full out at all when she's doing a session. She sings very quietly, very introvertedly. And then all of a sudden this romance with the microphone takes place. And the next thing you know, you have the magic that is her legend there on tape.
God bless the day I found you. I want to stay around you. And so I beg you.
I was playing hooky from school to go see Tommy Hunt at the Apollo. And at the end of Tommy's show, these 4 girls come out who had been singing background. I remember after the show, I had run up to the car because they had announced their names. They introduced themselves during the course of their show. And I ran up to the car and I said, Cissy, I said, let me tell you, I said, you all are the best. I said, you sing better than Aretha, you sing better than Dionne Warwick, you sing better than Patti LaBelle, you sing better than everybody, And she just said, oh yeah, thank you, baby, you're real nice, and closed the limo door,
So never, never, never leave me alone.
The Sweet Inspirations sang together for almost 10 years, doing backgrounds for everybody under the sun and cutting our own records too. We finally called it quits in 1971. When we got together for the reunion concert, we hadn't sung together in over 15 years.
time you turn the radio on, and I don't care if you listen for 4 hours, you heard the sweet inspiration on everything that played. You know? With who? Everyone from say Wilson Pickett and Solomon Burke, the Drifters, up to Gene Pitney, Connie Francis.
You know, Yusef Lateef.
Yusef Lateef,
yes.
Yeah.
Les McCann. Herbie, man.
Yeah.
Carmen McCrae.
From the rock to the jazz.
What's that lady?
Little Richard.
Nina Simone. Nina Simone. I couldn't say that.
Do you like good music? That sweet soul music. Just long as it's swinging. Oh yeah. We out here on the floor, y'all. Going to a go.
When I joined Atlantic Records in 1963, I came into an incredible electrified atmosphere. You had the singer, the star. It could be Aretha Franklin, it could be Solomon Burke, it could be Wilson Pickett, or you name it, all the greatest singers. And Cissy Houston actually was part of this mechanism. You would call it an artistic assembly line in a way. The soul sound of Atlantic in the 60s depended on some tightly played horns and a great rhythm section playing danceable and hard rhythmic patterns. And then the sweet inspirations would be called in, and Cissy would come up with a background vocal arrangement.
They'd come into the studio, she'd listen to the tape, and they'd gather around the microphone and start working out. It was a collaboration. It was a communal thing. Most of it came from Cissy Houston and the girls. Most of the ideas, most of the lines, and most of the parts.
We were coming up with more records that we recorded in the South, out of Memphis and Muscle Shoals, that had more of a gospel or a religious feel than the records you would make in New York, which were inclined to be more bluesy jazz. And they particularly liked singing on those kind of songs.
Of course, in her case, it was like just reaching back into the file cabinet and going back to something that she had done in gospel, because it's something that a lot of people don't realize. The songs that they were backing on in those days, soul era, were like almost always on gospel chord changes. So it was like very easy, like being home, going back to kindergarten.
And when it came to getting somebody to sing with Aretha, we had the ideal solution, because we had these girls that had the same basic musical root as Aretha, which was a church root or a gospel root. And that chemistry just worked beautifully. They knew each other on eye contact.
They worked together for so long, and they've been around each other for so long. If you spring something on them, they can go with it because they know you and they know you so well. They can just, it doesn't have to be rehearsed. They can ad-lib and stay right with you.
Now, you can't just sing your part straight. Sing with her, because she's not going to sing it straight. And when she moves, you've got to go with her.
You got to feel
and
what
through
she
the
does.
years, we feel it without looking at each other. We change the background with the flick of an eye, and never did it before. I mean, that's a gift.
got back together for the reunion, it was really weird, you know. I couldn't believe it because it was like almost never stopping. The harmonies were there, you know, and we had the same kind of enthusiasm. We were in tune with one another, and it was great. We used Eunice instead of Myrna. That was the only thing that was different. Eunice was wonderful. She fit in that spot really great.
Well, you know what's so great about the Sweets, I found? When you cannot know something and feel words come out of their bodies. I have been singing with them and actually didn't know the song and sang all the words through them generating all their energies to me.
Every hour of the day. Just don't go my way. Oh, woman in love needs inspiration. And honey, that's all I ask. No, that's all I ask from you. I gotta have your sweet inspiration. Just ain't no telling what a satisfied woman like you. The way you call me baby, oh baby, such a sweet inspiration. And then you call me darling, darling, darling. My heart's escaping sometimes when I'm out in the rain. And you know I just reach back in my mind, and there I find sweet, sweet inspiration. Oh yeah, oh what a power is what I love. I tell you that I've got it every hour of the day. Every hour of the day, I need your sweet, sweet inspiration. Yeah. To go on living, to keep on giving this away. Oh, I need your sweet inspiration. Yes, I do. I need your sweet inspiration.
I don't know if we want to explore the reasons why the Sweets didn't happen, but there has to be more than a musical force involved in the progress of a group. Cosmetics, how it looks, how they blend together on stage, what they have to offer visually, and so on. And I don't know. I just don't know. The thing that happened at that time was that the three foxy young chicks look of Diana Ross and the Supremes, or Martha and the Vandellas, and so on. And maybe they didn't exactly promote that particular image.
The Sweet Inspirations, on the other hand, to me, concentrated on what went into that microphone. There was nothing more important than those four voices going into the mic, right, and the way they sounded. And I think at the time when they started, the accent was more on the bubblegummy, you know, the Ronettes had just run their course, the Shirelles had just run their course, you know, and the real singers were not super duper popular yet. They were pre-real singers. They were a little bit before their time. Had they come 4 years later, they'd still be around today, selling out every place. Yeah.
I've had things that devastated me so bad until there was no place to go but to God. And everything that I sing about like that, I can relate to. And they can't write anything that I don't know about. I can just go within my storing cabinet there and bring it all out. we stand up there and we're really doing all we can to get through to the people. But after a while, believe me, it generates the spirit, and they can't sit any longer. You know, but that's something between he and his God, or me and mine. You know, it's a personal thing. What we feel inside has to come out. In other words, you got to make people feel what you feel in order to make them generate the kind of enthusiasm that it takes to generate the spirit.
And don't care, we are in the rut. The late Dr. Martin Luther King said that segregation itself was a hideous monster, but it was not as bad as a man who are denied his rights and don't care that they are being taken away. So I'm gonna get up and clean up, because while I'm down here, I think about my Father's house. Yes, sir. In my Father's house, there's food enough for everybody and to spare. I still love you. That's my message to you. Those of you today that's in the hog pen, God loves you. He wants you back home. You can't make it all by yourself.
People come to church with problems. There might be a word or a song which renews their faith in God. And at that moment, it might hit them and they might have the answer. Or they might see a path where they can get the answer.
I haven't always. I know what it's like.
Sometimes it's so intense until you just want to scream and shout like a mad person. It's just so, you know. And when you think of all the goodness of God and the things that He's brought you through, they do realize that it can be done. And boy, you just go to pieces. Hey! Maybe the minister or a song will be sung that you can relate to or rely back on or backtrack and remember, you know, and it will come to fore and it will keep you going, give you a little more energy to get up and go, you know. And like Sunday, you want to go back, you know, you got to get back and hear some more to sustain you through the next week. And that's what I think church is about.
I've been here really since '68, but I wasn't involved in the church too much. I just come and sit down. But something happened in my life in that time that I had to go to prison for about 5 years. And if it wasn't for the broadcast, I guess I would have lost my mind, really. Because it really helped me. It really helped me. I used to listen to it every Sunday, and I made up my mind then, said, Lord, let me get out of here. And I will join the choir and wait for the Lord the rest of my life. And that's why I'm here, and this is where I'll be the rest of my life. I know it.
You know, sometimes when Cissy be singing, she'll start to feel the spirit.
And the choir, you know, they'll give their answer back by feeling the same spirit. And then they like feed off each other, you know. It's a question here, answer there, question here, answer there. You know, it goes back and forth, you know, and I'm like in the middle, you know, I'm catching all these vibes, all this energy, you know, and that makes me feel good, you know, that makes me think, well, that makes me feel, put it like that I'm not just there for the money.
Some people come in just to see what it's about. Some people, they come in, they say they don't like Cissy. That's just because they don't get to know her. You know, she's firm and hard, but that's what a woman is supposed to be, especially a woman that's out, you know, there's not too many women that have charge or anything that can really sit and say, well, this is mine. And she definitely said, this is my choir.
The radio choir was formed 18 years ago for the 8 a.m. service to broadcast to all the people who couldn't make it to church on Sunday morning. There are a lot of sick and afflicted people who would love to come and they couldn't.
All right, you want to try?
It was kind of rough at first. It was kind of discouraging, I think, to some of our members. When we started out, it was like more people in the choir than it was in the audience.
Just open it up and sing it, you right?
And it was a challenge to me to actually begin that choir and see. I guess one would, had they seen us in our early days, you know, say, wow, how's she gonna do with that, you know?
Oh, yes,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? But here's what I want you to do. Let's go over again. From I will open up. I will open up. I will open my heart. See? Now this one I want you to, because it's more powerful. To everyone. Right? Let's get that. Well, why don't you do what I'm asking you to do then?
She can embarrass you so badly where you feel like you just want to slide under the chair, you know, under the pew and just crawl away, you know. She's real good at that.
She's rough.
You know
She's
what?
a rough teacher. Rough. She'll get mad.
I know. You have to be very in tune to her.
Insulting.
And
yes,
everybody, I'm going to tell you,
very
and everybody, I don't care how well you sing, everybody cannot sing with her.
And can roll her eyes. If her
Till I get a
eyes
migraine
was a gun, you'd be dead.
No, she's rough,
She
but you
hit
know
the wrong
what?
note.
But if you sing with her,
Yeah.
you can sing. I have sung. I'm not afraid to sing with anyone.
Oh,
when you
can-
sing with
I
her,
can sing
you
with
have
her?
no fear of no one.
That's right.
We're going to sing something for you that was taken from Dreamgirls. And it was my mother's idea to put this together, to interpret it in her way of how she felt about her children. So now, may I give you the lady of my life, my mother, Miss Cissy Houston.
When I first saw you, I said, oh my. I said, oh my. That's my dream. That's my dream. I needed a dream when everything seemed to go bad. But then I had you, and you are about the most beautiful dream anyone's ever had. When I first saw you, I said, oh my. I said, oh my. There's my dream. That's my dream. I needed a dream to make me strong. And you were the only reason I had to go on. You are my dreams, all the things I never knew. You are my dreams, so don't ever take it would ever come true. And who would believe? The world would believe in my dreams too.
There comes a time when a child's got to grow. There comes a time when a man's got to go. Ma, you said I am special. You said I've got to prove I am just as good. I am even better than. That's what you said. That's what you said.
There comes a time when a child's got to grow. There comes a time when a woman's got to go. But Ma, you said I am special. You said I've got to prove I am just as good. I am even better than. That's what you said.
That's what you said.
Shine as a star.
Shine as a star.
I'm gonna shine.
I'm gonna shine.
I'm gonna shine.
I'm gonna shine.
Saw you, I said, oh my, oh my, they're my dreams.
She always said that if you sing from your heart and if you let people know that you care about what you're doing, they are bound to give you 100%. You know, they'll give it back to you in some way or another. You know, it'll come back to you. I think it's because she cares and she lets you know that you don't have to be the greatest singer in the world. You just have to take the initiative to want to do it. You know what I mean? And if you have that, you can do anything.
She is a star. She is a star in a world that not everybody is sensitive to. She has a set of priorities that I admire and that I wish most people had. She has a devotion and a belief in a super being. She has a priority with her family. And she knows that she can sing. She knows she's as good as anybody out there.
Whenever we got together, we knew that we were going to sing. that we were going to do some good singing here today, wherever here was. And it's always going to be like that because we come from the same place.